You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am actually broadcasting from North Idaho, an actual free state. Now, for those of you who wonderingly, I am your conservative Sherpa. And by doing that, I guide you through the maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, globalist, lies, chaos, deceit, betrayal, and tyranny, because he's my open. And please remember what you're about to hear for the next 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm going to guess 2 hours tonight because I have some lovely guests. Fair of face and tone of voice. They're wonderful guests. Anyway, what you're about to hear for the next 2 hours consists of my opinion only, and those of my guests, who I shall be revealing very shortly in a revelatory sort of way. I am doing the job that the American media maggots will not. I am fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time, and here we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks here in the saloon, such as that. And facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, clarity, context, tradition, and common sense for normal people like you and me. So perhaps you may be asking, self, what is it we discuss here in the saloon? And that would be politics, religion, crime, culture, race, sex, economics, science, law. We do discuss all of it here, where the speech is free, but booze is not. I am streaming live right now on a whole host of various places. I'm streaming live. I had something happen with StreamYard. And I can no longer, it says, you can no longer stream to any X except your own. Don't know why. So, two against tyranny. Can't stream there. I am streaming live on Rumble, on YouTube, on Facebook, KLRN Radio, and Twitch. And afterwards, later, where all wonderful podcasts can be found. And they're all wonderful podcasts. So speaking of wonderful podcasts, here is Sackhead Sean from Edge of Liberty. Speaking of wonderful podcasts.
Good evening.
Here is Sackhead. There we go. That's another reason I didn't like to do that. And then also we have the exceptional Rowdy Rick Robinson of KLRN Radio. Thank you, gents and genters and all sorts of people. Thank you for being here. By the way, Sackhead Sean says, hello. He's being gentlemanly, and Mission Ready Man is here and is saying, what up? And hey, look, Rick Robinson himself. He said, hello, friends. Reaver of Common Sense is here to reave whatever the heck we happen to have. And speaking of, I'll talk about this at the end of the show. But if you want to listen to SHR's very own Reaver of Common Sense, you can do that on Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. Eastern. Mission Ready Men. Now that is, let's see, this gentleman right here. You can listen to his show on SHR Tuesday and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, at 11 p.m. Central, and noon Eastern. And of course, I will invite everybody here before we go to just tell us all about, well, let's start here. Let me see if I can do this, because StreamYard is doing strange things to me these days. And Sackhead Sean, tell us about your podcast, The Edge of Liberty, and then we'll get into the clot of the show. Go.
Well, the long and short of it is it's Monday and Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. I talk about news, politics, and I am a grumpy son of a bitch.
Hey, you resemble that.
That's it?
What else is there? What else do you need to know?
That's it? You're not going to tell it? So you basically, you talk only about, I don't know, sinks at Sink World, wherever you are.
No, news, politics, just about everything. Anything we can get my hands on and anything that interests me in the moment. And, that can be a wide variety of things, as I am a little batshit crazy. But mostly it's news and politics. And occasionally I have some the fellow hosts on, and every once in a while I'll have another guest on here and there. And we'll, it's fun. It's a good time. I enjoy it. Been doing it a long time. I did the family style, the family model show for a while with everybody. And now that I'm doing the El Solo show, it's a little bit different, but I'm enjoying it.
Okay. All right. And then we have Roddy Rick Robinson, labeling himself Chief Cook Bottle Washer, KLRNradio.com. Welcome, sir, and thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for the warm introduction. The payment that we agreed to should arrive next week. Don't cash it till the second Tuesday of the following.
Oh, I thought we read on Venmo.
I'm just saying. Well, too late now. I already mailed the check.
Damit, Jim. Damit. Anyway, thanks to everybody for being here. There's, if you want to, by the way, I highly recommend that you jump into the chat room. And I didn't illustrate it. It is worthy of doing so right now, because here's the way it looks.
Lovely.
It's now it's spring. It's officially spring, but you're looking at that and thinking, spring hell, why are there snowy trees in the background? And the main reason for that would be, well, it's still snowing and sleeting around here. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Mansour, Sean, did you say not recently that it was still snowing over Donner Summit a couple of days ago?
Yeah, I-80 over Donner, 50 over Echo, up in Susanville, up even I-5 as you get close to Weed was snowing. There was quite a bit. Dunsmuir, all that.
Okay.
Screwed some shit up for a while too. A lot of shit.
I bet that was shit stirring worthy, so to speak.
This last storm, they got feet of snow. Yes.
Now, the interesting thing is, California has always spelled it with a K, has historically been in a drought, and maybe it was a little bit last year, but a year or two before that, I mean, it had 20, 30 feet of snow over the summit, which was just kind of wacky and over the top and all that kind of stuff. I would like to take the time right now, before we get into the heart of the matter, the meat of the show, that we, SHR Media, the SHR Media YouTube channel, we are 53. Look below right there. We are 53 subscribers away from the magic 500 number of subscribers that we need to try to get the algorithms to stop screwing with us at SHR at least a little bit. So if you would, pretty please, I mean, I don't ask for money or any of that kind of stuff. I'm set up well myself. Thank you very much. But we could use subscribers, just 53. And if those of you who are on right now or listening later in podcast could find it within yourselves to go, okay, all right, the SHR Media Network on YouTube, fine. I'll subscribe to you ugly bastards. And we thank you ever so kindly for
like
that.
I say on my show, even if you don't like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then when we come on, you can just come to chat and harass us. And that's totally fine. That's your prerogative.
Sure. And the best chat to be in, by the way, there's Rumble Chat, not a Rumble Cat, but a Rumble Chat. And I don't monitor that all that frequently, but the best chat to be in is, in fact, the chat that we are in YouTube. That's where you ought to go. And speaking of chat, in comments, hey, look, it's the Lost Wanderer. And as I am wont to say quite frequently, not all who wander are lost. And the Lost Wanderer himself definitely indicates that. This is very interesting.
It's all right, Jeff. You're just going to wish you were home scoring again. I already know.
Oh, my. I find this interesting. Jersey Joe from the Reverb Common Sense says, I heard a lot of YouTubers complaining recently about StreamYard. So I can only hope that it's not me, but of course that's absolutely completely false. It is me, and it's always about me. I want to I want to let everybody know that I have done some upgrading, so please, if you would listen to this. Now, if you would look at the glass cockpit.
Oh,
We're about to accelerate.
Look at you.
This is my team right here, my KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, and they're accelerating down the runway in order to hook up with me. Now, they start at Offutt, and so it takes them about 2 hours to reach me at the end of the show. But I just want to illustrate to everybody, look at the glass cockpit. Look how beautiful that is.
That's a big improvement for you.
That's a thing of beauty. And the other thing that I want to assure everyone in terms of safety is that I recently had my KC-135 upgraded with the Block 45 U.S. Air Force upgrade. And that includes the full glass cockpit and 4 new CFM56 engines to make it safe for all. No one will crash. Shit will not fly out of the sky. So I just want to assure everyone about that.
Well, I forget what the capacity for vodka is on that. What is it?
That's well, now we don't measure it in gallons.
Vodka.
In the Air Force, we measure it in tons. So that would be about anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000 tons.
Very nice.
On the KC-135. And there's if I need it for any kind of a special celebration, or if I invite yourself over or anybody else, it can be increased to 10,000 tons, but I rather not do that.
Well, it's a lot of pressure on the frame.
It is. Well, yeah, those aren't new aircraft. They were manufactured in 1958 and came out in 1959. So because of that, yeah, you're right. I do have to be a little cautious on
those
that.
things are as old as Val Kilmer.
Older. I want to go to this.
Technically, if they came out in 59, they're about the same.
Oh, that's right. No, 65. I'm 10 years older than that guy. That's a sad story in and of itself. Let me pull this down just for a moment. If you guys have not seen the documentary on Netflix called Val, go see it. And it will give you a big insight in terms of what this guy has gone through. And his life predominantly had been sort of a raving, flaming hell for a long time. A lot of people said he brought a lot of the stuff down on himself. Well, not when he got throat cancer. And luckily, he didn't have to go the way of Roger Ebert. And those of you familiar with Roger Ebert, I'm not even really going to go there. Let's go to DOGE, the U.S. national debt, $36 trillion, $680 billion. And go over here. Now, this has increased since just Tuesday. Look here, DOGE, the DOGE clock savings per taxpayer, $2,467 And if you want to find out where that is, that's at usdebtclock.org, usdebtclock.org, and DOGE, doge.gov. If you want to find out, gee, is there any kind of transparency, go to doge.gov. But the most important thing that I want to play for everyone, and then have everybody weigh in terms of politics. This is probably one of the most important aspects, one of the most important things that I'm going to address tonight. And I'd like everybody also in the chat, and obviously everybody here, to weigh on this. And it essentially gets down to a yes or a no.
Multiple SWAT units responding to hostage situation.
Hey, little girl, stop.
What do you want, little one?
Your ass.
That's the sound of the police.
Baby.
That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Who are you?
Frank Drebin, Police Squad. The new version.
That's the sound of the police.
Hi, Daddy. It's me, Frank Jr. Love you.
Hey, Dad. Boy, do I miss you.
Sound of the police.
I'm sorry. That makes it worth it right there, just for that.
That joke alone, you should just buy a ticket for that joke alone.
Oh,
look, I was with Big E on this. We were talking in our chat earlier, but yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, it's going to be a little raunchy because it's Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy is making it, and Liam Neeson, good for him for having a sense of humor about himself. This isn't the first time he's done that, but I always have a hard time when they take such a classic. I mean, Naked Gun was by Zucker Abrahams Zucker, the Airplane guys. Just classic. And of course, Leslie Nielsen, who most people don't realize used to be a serious actor until Airplane, and then all the different slapstick movies that he was in since then, and of course Police Squad. By the way, I think they're all on YouTube. The original Police Squad TV show, if you don't have a chance to actually sit through them, I think there's only 4 or 5 episodes. Absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna see it. I am gonna see this just because of the legacy that it's there.
Yep.
And like I said, that one O.J. Simpson joke, totally worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally worth it. That was probably one of the funniest things that's been in movies in a long time. That one joke.
But there are going to be people that will say, if it's not, you can't replace Leslie Nielsen.
No.
Because he is Frank. Period. End of statement.
Oh yeah, no, he is.
Well, I think they knew that though, because if you noticed, Neeson isn't playing Frank; he's playing Frank's kid.
Yes.
Oh well, yeah. Okay. Yes. True.
And,
damn it! Someone on the ball.
I think they kind of realized, and I respect them for this because this isn't like a reboot. They're kind of keeping it going. I mean, if we have to do sequels versus reboots, I would kind of prefer sequels. I really want some new content. I'm not gonna lie, but I will admit, seeing Neeson willing to do this after being a serious actor for so long, it's almost the same exact trajectory that
Leslie Nielsen
Nielsen got to get here.
And you got to remember, Liam Neeson was in the movie Ted, the one about the teddy bear, Seth MacFarlane again,
right?
Where he was the customer in the store. If you've never seen that one scene alone, that scene was with the box of tricks, absolutely hilarious, right? And then he was also in A Million Ways to Die in the West for a brief second,
that's right.
which is,
I forgot, he was the bad guy, right?
Yes, which is also Seth MacFarlane. And all of that started as a joke because Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane's TV show, and American Dad were making fun of Liam Neeson over and over and over again, just like they do anybody else. And I guess it got to the point where Seth MacFarlane was afraid of what Liam Neeson actually thought, like if he bumped into him, if he had a sense of humor, and we obviously know that he did. So it's pretty awesome.
I am going to go. Are you guys going to go?
Yeah, I'm definitely going.
I'll check it out. Look, just the fact that they're making the attempt and it's a sequel, and like Rick said, it's not a reboot, it's a sequel. It's his kid. Liam Neeson can be pretty damn funny. And Seth MacFarlane's had a couple of home runs with movies. They may not get huge crowds because they're slapstick and they're raunchy and stuff like that. But that's the kind of comedy I like. That's old school kind of comedy. You got to remember a lot of the famous comedies back in the day were pretty raunchy and pretty, History of the World. You remember History of the World?
You could not make Blazing Saddles today.
No,
people would watch it, but nobody would fund a Blazing Saddles.
Well, nobody would star in it either.
Well, the sad thing is Mel Brooks even admitted he wouldn't make it today. And that's what made me the most sad, is hearing Mel Brooks actually say in an interview that he wouldn't even consider making anything like Blazing Saddles today.
Yeah, because he couldn't. Funny story about Blazing Saddles. So if you listen, or when you watch the movie, the intro is sung, and I can't remember the guy's name, but
Frankie Lane.
Right. Do you know how they got him to how they got him to do that song?
I don't know, but I'll tell you the brief thing. I went there to watch that with a bunch of people from KFBK, and we all sat together, about 5 of us, in the movie theater. And the second Frankie Lane started singing, we burst out laughing because we knew it was going to be great. Oh, we knew it was going to be great from that point on, and we were not disappointed.
Well, so they pitched that movie to him, or they pitched that soundtrack to him as a serious Western movie, and they even lied and said that Clint Eastwood was going to be in it.
Shit.
That was Mel Brooks. So Blazing Saddles specifically, the amount of things that they lied to different people about just to get the okay to make it. If you watch the interview with Mel Brooks that he did, it was probably about 15 years ago now. He absolutely lied his ass off to get Blazing Saddles made, and he wasn't ashamed about it. And Young Frankenstein too. If you don't one of the things you don't realize is Young Frankenstein was shot in the original stage that Frankenstein, the original movie, was shot in. All that stuff that was in Young Frankenstein was in the original Frankenstein movie.
Pretty much all the scenes. Yes, I wouldn't disagree with that in the slightest.
Factual.
So I only have one thing to say about Blazing Saddles.
Yes, sir.
Except it's not working, so never mind. Damn it.
Where are the white women at?
Yeah.
There it goes.
Hey, where are the white women at?
There we go.
There you go.
And boy, we used to have Ken McClinton from TECN, used to be on the SHR Media Network. And, when I first got onto SHR, and Sean, you played that over the radio at the time, I thought, I had forgotten. I thought that was Ken himself that you had recorded saying that.
Well, and what's funny is we did have a few recordings that we had of Ken actually saying that, because if I didn't play that when Ken came on, if I didn't play that, we had an intro for Ken. If I didn't play that when he came on, he would say it himself just to make sure that it was said almost every appearance.
Yeah, very true. We need more things that we can laugh at.
Oh,
there
I
really
agree.
isn't much of anything that anybody can laugh at. Comedy has taken a nosedive, although I kind of suspect that comedy in a certain percentile is coming back. And I would be very curious what you guys think about this, since we just brought this up. Who brought that back? I would submit that Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah,
had a great deal to do with smoothing over that section of comedy so that laughing at stuff that's actually funny instead of PC is okay again.
I was just going to say, if you want to see where comedy is going by and large, look at stand-up comedy. Before the movies writers get into it, before the TV show writers get into it, and what's safe and what's not, you look at some of the some of the stand-up comics that are hitting again, and Chappelle is definitely a leader of that pack. The guy who does the Trump impression, I can't think of his name right now. He does some pretty raunchy stuff. Shane Gillis, he's got big turnaround. So, or big crowds, I should say. So I think if you look at stand-up comedy, and they're starting to get more raunchy. Look, You've had some stand-up comedians who have apologized for being PC, which, take it with a grain of salt. I understand that. But what I say is that is an acknowledgement that the PC era of stand-up, because stand-up comedy used to be brutal. It used to be funny. You had clean comedians, you had your Bob Newharts of the world, etc. But most of stand-up comedy for the longest time was pretty brutal and raw. And the fact that you're starting to see that kind of brutal, raw take on things start to show up again, I think is huge. And by the way, we're talking about Blazing Saddles. There's a person in your chat room, and I won't call his name out because I won't embarrass him that way. There's a person in your chat room who I can remember killing almost an entire handle of rum with watching that one night.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I won't ask now. I will not ask now.
He will be asking later, however. Just
I will ask you later about who the hell happened to be that. Let me add this to the stage right now. This is something that had just occurred today. Yeah, we're talking about comedy, and yeah, I'm going to go see the movie. Did anybody happen to see this? Police in Amsterdam. This is today. Netherlands suspect this was a failed VBIED, vehicle-borne IED terrorist attack. And it just didn't pull itself off all the way.
Whoops.
That's a little Fiat on fire.
Well, and there's another video of that that's even better, where it shows the initial explosion inside.
And they're responding to it. But look at all the people that happen to be in that square where that could have gone off.
Well, and you had another vehicle-borne attack, an actual driving vehicle attack in Germany a couple days ago. I think you had one. I think there was something exploded. I want to say it was in Sweden or the Netherlands. And it's starting again. And I'll tell you right now, it's going to start again in Europe a lot worse for the countries that are starting to push back against open borders. And the more, and you just had even Keir Starmer come out and say, we got to do something about our border. Keir Starmer of all people.
Yeah.
But I think the more you see that tightening down, sadly, the more attacks you're going to see. Now, I don't know the motive of this person. I don't know what their background is, yada, yada, yada. Disclaimer.
It's all too new.
But we also just had, and they're not releasing the information today, we just had 6 people stabbed in DC in a mass stabbing attack. That happened this afternoon. Suspects in custody. They haven't released the suspect name, or at least they hadn't as of 2 hours ago. So
means it's not a white Republican, so we'll probably never know.
No, that's true. Hey, look in the chat. Okay, I'm only doing this because this is public. It's in the chat.
I already knew.
Okay. Well, moving right along. What I'd like to do, do I have time for this? Yeah, let's start it here. Then I'll, in about 2 minutes, I'm going to have to take a break. Let's start this now. Susan Crawford won over the Republican in Wisconsin. And basically what it says is, yeah, leftists are going to control the court again. And they're talking about the issues will be abortion rights and labor rights and the environment. And the other thing that I think is going to be, at least for conservatives and Republicans, one of the biggest issues will be redistricting. And redistricting may or may not have a great deal to do with adding some Congress critters to Congress. So when we come back, we're going to take a break. I'd like to discuss this and then go on to the other elections that occurred in Florida and just kind of discuss a little bit back and forth about whither the Republican Party right now, where they're going to go, and what this may or may not imply for 2026. I'm BZ. You're in the Saloon, and those lovely gentlemen over there are Sackhead Sean and Rowdy Rick Robinson. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we are back. The first half hour has concluded. It is gone. Tonight, I have in front of me Sackhead Sean, Rowdy Rick, and welcome one and all. Glad to see you here. If you would, hit the subscribe button to the SHR Media YouTube channel. We are 53 subscribers away from a full 500. A full 500. How wonderful that would be. Yes, yes, yes.
Marvelous.
It would be truly marvelosity. Marvelous marvelosity. Hey, before the break, I said, hey, some very interesting things occurred in some special elections. Here's one from Wisconsin, and the Supreme Court became even a little bit more left one of the dangers of this, as mentioned by people who are into politics, is will we get, because of gerrymandering, of redistricting, will we get, and will there be a couple more, maybe one, maybe two, perhaps three, no one knows for certain, Congress critters because of the redrawing of the districts, which will be favored by the people here in Wisconsin. So that having been said, anybody here have any thoughts about what happened or what will happen in Wisconsin?
You want to take it first, Sean?
Yeah, I'll take it. Well, what happened is, it's not like you would think Wisconsin would be more overwhelmingly conservative than it actually is, and it's not. It's got some. It's kind of like California, where once you get outside the big cities, it's conservative. But Milwaukee is a big city, and it's
Milwaukee.
a huge liberal. It's the populace. It'll be interesting to see the redistricting. Only because California is going to lose a couple seats because the population dropped.
Yeah.
And I believe, is it New York that's losing a seat as well? I think New York's losing a seat.
They may. I am uncertain about that. During a break, I'm going to have to go look and find out.
So you have those going away, and if they could redraw them, could that be problematic? Yes, it could be problematic. Do I think it's going to be a tipping point? No. I don't think, I mean, look how close it is right now. I think it's always, look, and I think Congress is always going to be this close for a long time. But one of the things that you have to kind of look at and really see beyond the numbers themselves, the Democrats have a 20% approval rating. 20%. And we know that's just the absolute super duper far leftists that are supporting them. I said in an article a couple of months ago, and I still believe this, I think the Democrats are so splintered, I don't know if they can recover. Now, are you always going to have the people that will vote with the D next to the name over the R? Yes, I think maybe that accounts for another 20% of people who call themselves Democrats. Even if they have to hold their nose to vote, I think they'll still do it. But that's only 40%. And I'll tell you, this next 4 years, 3.5 or whatever you want to call it now, 3 3/4, is really going to make the decision for a lot of people as to where they are going to land politically. If everything that Trump is doing right now is successful, look, I think it's what DOGE has something like an 75% approval rating in the country. 75% of the country is happy that they're opening the books, and the media won't show you that. The social media doesn't let that happen, but that's what the polling shows. People overwhelmingly are glad that that's happening. Tariffs right now, nobody understands how tariffs work, which the media is preying upon. They're not telling you both sides of that story.
Yep.
The media doesn't want to talk about all the countries that have tariffs in America, that we were taking it to the face. And you look at the amount of funding and all of this. I'm going to wrap all this up in a bow in a second when it comes back to redistricting. You look at all the funding that's being removed from these other countries, especially for military funding, and the funding to the EU and the tariffs and everything. We start pulling all that money back either through military power and or tariffs. We start, and obviously with USAID going away, and these countries are going to have to start footing all of these bills. You're going to see what happens when you have socialist leaning countries like France, when they're going to have to start kicking in more money for their military, more money for the defense, when tariffs are going to hit them, when their life is going to get difficult. Watch how easy it's going to be for them to all of a sudden pay for socialized medicine in their country and find the money to do that. I think right now, everyone's freaking out about the stock markets. Everyone is talking about tariffs that they don't know what they're talking about. I say in a year, that 60% number that's left over from what I spoke about earlier, I think will be more solidified. That's an honest to God truth. And I don't know if redistricting will matter at that point.
Well, it's like, what's his name said, Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. 35 seconds into his term, people said, eggs, 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 eggs. And his response was, fuck a duck, I just got here.
Yep.
And so tariffs just happened April 2nd. Well, let's see, what is today, the 3rd, and already the sky is falling and the earth is about to explode.
I have first, as far as the Wisconsin thing, I have a slightly different take. I'm just going to be completely honest. I want out-of-state money out of every state election. I don't give a shit who's donating. I don't care if it's Republicans. I don't care if it's Democrats. I don't care if it's
absolutely
you. And in this country, each individual state used to be its own laboratory for democracy, and we need to get back to that again. Because if what happened in Wisconsin is on the up and up, then the voters have spoken, and the people of Wisconsin need to figure out how to deal with that. But if it really was basically the millionaires fighting each other, and one landed one more shot than the other one, then the crazy white bitch standing up there saying, we fought the richest man in the world and we won. Dude, 77% of your money came from out-of-state donors. Shut the fuck up and sit down.
Yeah, and how much of it came from Soros?
Nobody had clean hands in any of that. Now, as far as the redistricting, again, like Sean was just talking about, with all the population changes, I don't necessarily know if that's going to matter very much, because some of the blue bastions are starting to shrink because people are leaving. And I think if Wisconsin goes too far to the left too quickly, you're going to start finding other people start voting with their feet, which may wind up shrinking all of that too. Now, as far as the other stuff that's going on, the tariff stuff is driving me nuts. It's been a day.
We'll get to that.
But here's the thing. Everybody that's panicking about the stock markets, those are all the rich liberal bastards who hate Donald Trump that can afford to pull their money out, just trying to goad everybody to change teams for the midterms. That's all this is right now.
Well, and I thank you for doing that, because one of the questions I was going to ask in regards to Wisconsin is, what do you think the issue was in terms of the influence of Elon Musk making that insertion of cash, obviously clearly out of state cash? Was that a plus to people, or was that a detriment in terms of people in Wisconsin saying, get that crap out of here? We don't want to see that. This is something that we just don't need. And it turned a lot of voters off.
I think you're right to a point, because the thing about it is, when the leftists do it, it's stealth. So you don't really know it's coming. He did it up front and said, hey, I'm going to come help. And that pissed a lot of people off. But the other thing about all of that is, the thing about it is, again, if that's what the voters wanted. And the other thing that drives me crazy about the Wisconsin results is that voter ID laws passed, which proves to me that the leftist leadership has been lying to America for the last 10 years. Because for that to pass in that environment, that means it is yet another one of those 80-20 issues that everybody's like, yeah, we're fine with showing ID. We got to do it to fucking buy beer.
Well, that also really highlights where people stand on immigration, right? In a way, it does, because it says, hey, we don't want outside interference in our election. We don't want people voting in our election that are not citizens. That is a roundabout way of saying that. So it also tells you that immigration is still a major issue that people have, and that the 12 million immigrants that are here and how they could affect our future. People have, people have spoke.
Damn, brother, don't die on us on the air.
That's true.
My bad.
That's okay.
I legitimately think I inhaled a bug. I had the screen open earlier, and a couple of mosquitoes got in. I think I just downed one. Live in the air, folks.
On the next segment of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, Sean discusses his encounter with the bird of paradise.
Dear Lord.
I don't want a Mercedes-Benz. Thank you very much. Let me ask you guys this, though. Okay, that was Wisconsin. And you both pointed out a really good and salient issue in terms of, okay, if Wisconsin can go this route with voter ID, and yet they had a little bit of umbrage with regard to the Supreme Court. A lot of people are saying, a lot of people on the Republican side are saying, oh my God, they're wailing, all is lost. Fuck no, all is not lost.
I have an explanation for that too, because I actually know some people in Wisconsin, and what happened in Wisconsin, and this is something that the Republicans are going to have to work on before the midterms, because when you have Donald Trump talking to people, he can connect with people in ways that the only other person I've ever seen in my lifetime be able to do it was Ronald Reagan. He can just sit there and make people understand. Press conference from yesterday, notwithstanding, because that was probably one of the worst ones I've seen him put on. But the thing about it is, and I heard this from so many people, the left is pissed off, so they were motivated, and not enough people on the right, the younger crowd that voted for Trump in the actual election, knew enough about what was actually going on in Wisconsin to motivate them to vote, because all they kept hearing is this person's evil, this person's bad, this is bad. They didn't ever say what they wanted them to vote for. They were only telling them what they needed to vote against. This is when you lose. No matter which side of the aisle you're on, when the only thing you can say is if you don't vote for me, then Hitler wins, then that never works.
Yeah,
when everything you're talking about is if you don't vote for us, then these bad guys over here are going to mess with your life. That doesn't work, because that never works. And that's exactly what happened in Wisconsin. The 18 to 35 crowd was just like, we don't even understand enough about what's going on. So, man.
I would like to see what the split was between people that showed up to vote for voter ID and stayed and voted for everything else. Or did people just show up to vote for voter ID and go home?
That's a good point.
Yeah. That is.
And the other thing, don't forget, all of this with Wisconsin, everything you kept saying is this is technically a nonpartisan election. So think about that from the perspective of the 18 to 35 crowd. Well, if it's nonpartisan, what the hell do I need to go vote for?
No, it makes sense. And I think part of the thing too is I don't think the conversation of redistricting, like I said, I don't think it's going to matter all that much long term. I could be wrong. But I don't think that was pushed enough. I think that was a valid talking point. I think that was I don't think it was talked about enough that, hey, if this lunatic woman wins, this could really screw a lot of things up. I don't think the emphasis was put on that importance, or that important caveat of this election. But that was kind of the point.
The other thing that I'd like to point out, which is a plus as far as I'm concerned, is the two special elections in Florida. The special election
they were going to run away with, and then
yes, that one. Thank you for pointing that out, because I have always cautioned, as have you, Rick Robinson, don't take shit for granted. Don't lay down. Don't think that there's ever going to be anything like a red wave or a red tsunami. Always have thy loins girded, because we know historically what has happened when people tend to get complacent. But occasionally the complacency is reversed, or the assuredness is reversed. After having those two wins, it was a replacement for a special election for Matt Gaetz and Mike Waltz, I think, both of those, and they went to Republicans. Well, even then, I was watching articles in the American media maggots that were saying, well, they didn't win by much, so that means the Republicans are in deep shit right now.
It's all they have, though. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. There's a good chance that if some of this, look, the problem that we have right now, and I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, the problem that we have right now, it would have been really easy for Donald Trump to come into office, get his tax breaks for no tax on tips and those few other things that would have done enough to spur the economy along and kept everything plugged in the way it is right now and kind of kept it on an even keel. And they've even told us that. It would have been really easy for us to come in and do the easy thing and give you guys a short-term boost your confidence where you're spending money again, and then 4, 6, 8 years down the road, you're careening off a cliff and we're not here to fix it for you anymore. The reason why we're having to go through all of this different stuff and we're watching all of these people that are doing their Chicken Little routines is because we've waited too long to finally operate on the patient. Yeah. That's what we're doing right now. America is on the operating table and she has cancer, and we've waited too long. It's metastasized, which is why we're having to go in and cut everything. I'm even getting text messages from people that I know here in Oklahoma that are complaining because DOGE is starting to come to Oklahoma, and there's people that have been having these entrenched jobs where they've been making $25, $26, $27 an hour, which for Oklahoma is damn good money. And now they've lost $11 an hour, but they haven't lost their job because they're considered a tenured employee. But they're not one of the leadership team anymore. They've been moved back to a certain level. And I'm just like, I don't know what you got. This is exactly what he told us he was going to have to do.
Exactly. What part of his platform is it that you did not understand? And we just went back to DOGE. The savings is up to about $2,900 per individual up to this point. And the lies continued in terms of people were saying Elon Musk said, or somebody said that Elon Musk has got to go very soon, very soon. And Elon Musk came out with a thing on X saying, no, I didn't say that. That's not what was said. I didn't say that.
Yeah, there was a sundown agreement in his stint at DOGE.
There is a sunset agreement in that contract. Correct.
Yeah. And he said that as of right now, he would abide by that unless something changes or he's asked to stay on. And, Trump said that, if he wants to go back to his company, he's got companies to run. And I think Trump says that respectfully, like he's given up a lot to help us out with this. And he's given up a lot of himself for this. If he wants to go back and just put rockets into space and make electric cars and stuff, that's cool with me. He's done enough. But I don't think that Elon is going to walk away until he feels that DOGE is a well-oiled, self-running machine that's doing what it's supposed to do. Look, and I agree. I agree with what Joe said. We're talking about Florida. Democrats outspent Republicans 10-1. Democrats have lied worse than they've ever lied since Donald Trump got elected the last time.
Boy.
The amount of just overt, easily disproven words that they have said in the face of hard facts is astronomical. Hakeem Jeffries today saying, was it today or yesterday? The border was closed because of Democrats. Like, you can't just, that's like, that would be like if I took off my hat and said, everybody look at my luscious hair. There's absolutely no way that's a truthful statement. It's not luscious, it's gross and disappearing. The same as the Democrats. And they haven't changed direction.
I don't know.
They refuse. Huh?
Your beard's looking kind of luscious tonight. I'm just saying.
That's true. They refuse to change directions. They don't know how, because their entire platform, look, the last 3 years that Biden was in office was a giant lie. Other people were running the country. We all kept saying we know this is what's going on, and they denied and lied, denied and lied, denied and lied. They don't know how to change course. They don't know how to do it differently. So
and
here they are.
Now even the media is jumping ship and starting to put out books that are talking about how bad it really was and how much they wish they could have told us. My favorite one was the article that came out earlier this week talking about the fact that the FBI did in fact know about the laptop and knew everything that was on the laptop, and there was a gag order issued, so they weren't allowed to talk about it. These people deserve to go to jail, every single one of them.
100%. Well, I'll tell you, the election was stolen, and it was stolen for a comatose patient who other people filled the role of. The last
running the country. Yes, exactly.
The last 4 years, and I'll tell you right now, the election, if you throw everything else away, the Biden laptop alone, the amount of polls that showed up that said if that was released and Americans knew what was in it, I think it was like 40% of the people that voted for Biden said they wouldn't have voted for him if they had saw that. Election's over. Game over. End of conversation. You would have had another 4 years of Trump.
Right. But so now you can
by
release
doing
it.
that,
now it doesn't really mean
you stole right. By doing that, they stole the election. They subverted the election. They subverted by lying. And
there's
then
a very ironic thing that came from that, though, because now look, granted, all things being equal, if Trump had won his second term, he wouldn't have been able to get anything done. Look at how hemmed up everything was. So them doing everything that they did to save democracy actually shot themselves in the foot, the face, and the crotch all at the same time. Because now he's come in with a mandate. Now he's even got the people, at least the people that voted for him this time are actually on his side. He didn't even have that the first time. A lot of people voted for him just because they didn't know what else to do. And then he came in and there's like, oh, I don't know about any of this. And that's what's starting to piss me off, because I'm seeing that starting to happen now. People that are in the same business as us, people that have been doing this as long or longer than me, as soon as the tariff stuff came out, and they're like, well, that's not reciprocal, and that's not what that really means. And what does this mean? And that's all I've been doing for days, for the last day. It's just like, Just stop. The die has already been cast. None of us know if this shit's going to work or not. I'm about 90% sure that it's going to.
Yes.
If we can keep our spine and keep our sack about us, then it's going to work.
Well,
but
we've already seen evidence of it.
But if we keep seeing, if we have all these people that have much bigger voices than us three, unfortunately, that are all like, oh, I don't know if I can support Donald Trump anymore, then get the fuck out of the way and shut your goddamn mouth.
Well,
exactly.
And the problem is they get caught in that whole, I need this headline now just in case it goes bad. I can turn around and say, see, I didn't support that in 4 years. That's self-serving. And all of these media maggots are self-serving for the most part. There's very few that are not. But the reality of the situation is, and I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago. I said, look, we've already seen the status quo for the last 30 years and what it did to this country. So even if this experiment doesn't work, which I'm with Rick, I'm about 95 percentile that it will. Even if this experiment doesn't work, at least we know it now, because we know what we've been doing hasn't worked either.
Bingo.
And shit can't get any worse than it is.
Try it. Just try it. We haven't done this before. So what's wrong with this? I'll be honest. You guys know I have a shit ton of money in the stocks. I'm not going fucking nuts. These aren't the times of 29.
Right.
Now, everybody would have you believe that. And also, I would ask, this will be the last question before the break, and then I want to go back.
Watch how many people buy up these low price stocks soon.
Oh, well,
watch the rebound. Watch the rebound.
That's exactly what you do. When times are bad, I go buy small shit, buy a lot of it. Thank you. Hang up. When we come back, I want to talk about tariffs. I want to talk about there's just so much stuff to go over in the craziness, the absolute craziness that's going on. Before that, I want to gloss over this and at least make mention, a little bit further mention of this article. I found this on Public News, and it's about the gag order of the laptop. And back in 2024, last year, an FBI official admitted to House investigators in public that the FBI employee had inadvertently confirmed the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop to Twitter on a conference call. But yet, I got my ass kicked off Twitter because I retweeted the New York Post article about Hunter's laptop. And then it says, I recall when the question came up, an intelligence analyst assigned to CID said something to the effect of, yeah, the laptop is real, but I believe it was an Office of General Counsel attorney assigned to the Foreign Influence Task Force who stepped up and said, we are not going to comment on this topic. And simply by not doing that, as you all mentioned, that had a massive influence on the election. Yes, sir.
If they absolutely killed Hunter Biden's laptop to save the election, what about Ashley Biden's diary?
Oh my God. There are so many things that we do not know and that we have not seen. Oh, Jesus.
My bad.
Yeah, I know. You went there. That's okay. You opened the door. Now I'm going to fucking have to walk through that. But you first told me with 2 minutes before the break. Son of a.
I'm a helper.
But it may, helpy Helperton. That also asks the question of, okay, will we ever know the answers to these questions? Because the answers are so huge. Yes, Hunter Biden's laptop. Somebody was somewhere for a while, and I had the URL for it. Someone had on the internet uncensored photos of what was on the laptop.
Yeah.
I have looked. I wish to God that I'd done what I told myself to do because I'm an oaf. And I said at the time, don't forget, make screen captures of these things because they're going to disappear and they're going to go away. So that's Hunter Biden's laptop. What we still have not connected with in any way, really, which has created a host, a terrible shitstorm of umbrage from the people who said, well, you said Epstein, you said list, you said video, because you and I and everyone here both know there are multiple hundreds and hundreds of hours of big name individuals doing things that, I don't know, potentially could crash the planet and would reduce the credence of most everything. And with that, I'm going to have to take a break. You drag me there, fine, but we'll attack it right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I'm back. The first hour gone in Los Canos de los Bicis, Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon, Radio Showarama. Or words to that effect, Senator. Thanks for being here. 53. 5, 3. That's all we're asking for. 53 subscriptions to the SHR Media Network YouTube channel. That's all we need to make the magic 500. We will have 500 subscriptions very soon. I am sure of it because of the wonderful people in this audience listening right now, and because of all the people that are going to be watching this later in podcast, and also courtesy of Rowdy Rick from KLRN, who is kind enough to restream. We're walking up the street. Stream fell down and who was left? Restream. So thanks for doing that.
It's like my friends growing up, they were a pair of twins called Pete and Repeat.
Yes, they were. I agree. So we got into
Wait,
someone.
you have twins? I consider that a myth. I'm just
Oh, myth.
Yes.
You guys opened the door, and then I had to walk.
And we shoved you through it.
Yeah. Then you did. It's like, and the dealio went something like this. So let me ask you guys, if you've been encountering this stuff like I have on social media, and so I've been hearing a lot of things from get rid of Pam Bondi, get rid of Mike
Waltz.
Trump needs to be impeached. We're not going to take it anymore. Because I said, that's just me. I said, if it's legal, do it. If that includes early mailing of ballots, do it. If it's lawful, do it. And everybody says, oh, no, we must be perfect and prim. And that motherfucker is how you lost elections. So if it's lawful to do in your state, you need to get out and do it. I want to see people with veins between their teeth. But it again gets back to, and like I generally ask all these people who say that they're Republicans or conservatives, okay, then who would you have voted for? Of all the people, don't make shit up. A write-in doesn't mean a thing. Voting for a libertarian is pissing your vote away. Let's be honest. Let's talk about reality. If you didn't like Trump and you hate him now, oh, tariffs, we're going to get into tariffs. So who would you have elected? Who would you have voted for that was electable, motherfucker?
Mitt Romney.
Oh, yeah. He happened to be right about Russia at the time when he was excoriated by Obama.
Yep.
Oh, they don't like to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, how dare they talk about that anymore? No, and I've heard a lot of people call for Pam Bondi to be fired and blah, 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 blah. Look, one of the things the American people, and I understand why they're not patient, but the American people are not patient right now.
I get it.
We are not patient. I understand why. Look at, we've had 20 years now, essentially, of being run down the path to self-destruction. The average person has been ignored. The average voter has been ignored. As a matter of fact, you had one side of the aisle said that anybody who looked like me was everything that's wrong with society. Yeah. We were the reason the world was going to implode. We had racial tension.
If you look like you, isn't that what's wrong with society? Oh, wait,
if anyone looks like me, it's a problem. You had racial tension that had not only the fans of racial tensions get fanned, but they threw gasoline on it. They wanted us at each other's throat. I don't know who said it, and I'm not going to take credit for it, but the idea of as long as we're fighting with each other, we're not paying attention to what they're doing. Exactly. And that stopped when we elected Trump. And really, I think it stopped when Trump got shot. Because I think everybody went, wait a minute. We knew they hated him. We knew they were afraid of him. But what they did, not the first time, and then a second time, this tells you just how fucking afraid they are and what he is going to do. But it's going to take time. It is going to take time, and it'll have to work itself out. I know, and I know Big E's not a fan of Pam Bondi. Look, somebody was arguing today. Well, I said, well, how come the new Epstein files haven't come out? Well, they got a shitload when they went up to New York, and I have a feeling it was not edited, audited, and cataloged appropriately because of what was in there. And if they're in the process of doing that now, it's going to take time. If there is as much as they say there is, it will take time. And I'd rather them do it right. I really do. I want it to be done right because I want it to actually be exposed. If she doesn't do it and they don't expose it, that's a major problem. And I'll be the first one to admit it. And when I say done right, I mean, I want them to go over everything and expose everything about it and obviously numerous other investigations that got dumped.
Well, like
January 6th,
like you, I'm guessing I don't want to see any deletions. I don't want to see anybody, well, he or she is to fill in the blank for that. Because if we were to reveal he or she's name, I don't give a shit. Even if Donald Trump is named in there.
I've said that.
That's fine. That's okay. You, me, we all want to see it all. But, has it, let me ask you guys, because I don't think so. It hasn't been a full 100 days yet, has it?
Nope.
No. We're at like what, 71?
72, 73.
So I just suggest to everyone, and the people I was fighting with, who, like I say, they say they are conservatives. Okay, just take a breath. Take a breath. And with a pushback on that a little bit, all I got was a resurgence of F and S words because I was the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's where we are at this point. I want to throw this on the stage, courtesy of Rick Robinson, an article from townhall.com. Senate Republicans appear to have the votes to push through Trump's budget reconciliation package. And that came out today, April 3rd. Well, yeah, luckily. Oh, no, it's not April 3rd on the East Coast right now. I'm sorry. It's 12/11 on the East Coast. So, well, for most of us, it came out today, except for the important people who really count that are on the East Coast.
Don't talk about the future bastards like that.
Yeah,
don't future bastards.
Ask them. So, you were kind enough, Rick Robinson, to put this up into private chat. To you, what does this mean?
Well, the reason I put this up is this is something else that I've been seeing is I have been being bombarded with people that are saying that the midterms are already lost to us because the Republicans in Congress are incompetent and impotent. And I understand why they feel that way, but this goes back to, this is what we were talking about earlier with Americans being impatient. Part of that is not only our education system, but the entertainment that we choose to partake in, because we've now come to the stage in our development where we want all of our stress and whatever's bothering us wrapped up in 42 minutes, not counting commercials, and we want our dinner on our TV tray in no later than 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah. And that's the problem with this country. Everybody wants everything now, and it's got to be now.
Because everything is now.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this for forever. It took the socialist wing of the Democratic Party over 100 years to fuck this country so hard that now we have no choice but to try to unfuck it at warp speed before we fall off a cliff, because everybody kept kicking the can down the road. Because I guarantee you, half the people in Congress that are above 70, they all thought they'd be fucking dead by now. So they didn't think they'd have it. They didn't think they'd have anybody to answer to anymore. And now they're just hanging on to everything for dear life because they're like, oh my God, if I ever get out of here and they find out everything that I've done, they're going to fucking put me in the ground.
Well, and the problem is, even a well-run, well-oiled government that's doing everything right is not going to be a fast government, and it shouldn't be. I know, like, how many times you say, I want an investigation on this. Why isn't this person in handcuffs yet? Well, because it just happened 4 minutes ago, right? And you actually have to dot certain I's and cross certain T's to be legal.
Well, hang on. I don't mean to cut you off, Sean, but I think that's where that puts folks like me and you and BZ in a different light, because we've done that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but
we know what it takes to connect those dots.
I agree with that, but I blame TV, right? Everything's wrapped up in 42 minutes and they know who the bad guy is, right? But that's just the general mindset. Like you said, government doesn't work that way. We have appropriation committees for a reason. We have appropriations for a reason. Our founders wanted it to be slow because they did not want just wanton, reckless behavior within Congress.
I think there's a great deal to be said with regard to, here, let me put this back up. Earl said
Agreed,
this,
Joe.
You could do this. You could do a series of 3-hour shows for 2 weeks about instant gratification, what the phones have done to us, what social media has done to us, what television has done to us. That's a topic in and of itself, but it all filters down into these great expectations. And Rick, you knocked this out of the park in terms of, it took X number of years, like a call. You were both cops. I was a cop. And then magically, mystically, everyone expected that when you walked into a given call that you were assigned that had been 20 years in the making of a domestic violence call, for example, that was 15 or 20 years in the making, you have roughly 45 minutes in which to make a correction.
Mm-hmm. But
that's not going to happen. That's not reality. That's not how life works.
And you could relay that to any other field, right? Anyone in the medical field, paramedics, somebody lets himself get sick for 4 weeks and then expects a paramedic to show up and fix it in 30 seconds, right? You could go on and on and on. BZ, you made a great point. You could spend weeks and shows and hours and hours and hours about instant gratification. And I'll be honest, I wish you could just dumb it down to about 15 minutes for me.
Well, you and I have no doubt whatsoever that all of us here tonight believe, truly, I do, that because of these things, technology, if nothing else, and the fruits of technology, our brains have been rewired. I can tell you for certain. I don't have, okay, if I were a normal person,
Okay. Good.
I had to insert that caveat, as you guys well know. If I were a normal person and weren't affected by all the other hordes of bullshit that stream into my life myself, I can tell you for a fact, my brain has been rewired. I can tell you that when I walk around, do you know why? I got a nice t-shirt. I got a nice Pratt & Whitney engine t-shirt. Normally I wear t-shirts with a pocket. Why do I wear t-shirts with a pocket? That's where the damn phone goes.
Yep. And I'll tell you, they've been studies of how much it rewires people's brains. It's why it's causing such a mental defect in children, because it's completely destroying how children learn. It's why they're having a hard time learning, because it's not being given to them in 45 seconds. And that's part of the problem that we have to combat, but it's also the ammunition that the left loves to use in their lies. We talked about Hakeem Jeffries earlier lying and saying that, that the Democrats are the reason the border is closed. He can say that because it'll be get in front of 45 million faces on the CNN app or whatever, and it'll then disappear into the bowels of history unless somebody drags it back up again. It's like when they put something on page 1 that's a lie, and then they put the retraction on page 24. It's that same theory. They do that and they utilize that, and that's what the Republicans did far better this last election, but they still don't do that on the same level that Democrats do. Democrats just lie about everything. They know 30 something seconds in, most people forget it was said, but the emotional stick.
Would it surprise anybody that I have a couple of really good videos coming up with regard to that, about how the lies keep coming, and then the massive unbridled hypocrisy? And I have some historic videos and a recent video about something exactly like that. Mission Ready Men said this, and I completely agree. He said, I've been talking about our instant gratification society for nearly 20 years, and it has affected us in a terrible way. Only now are we even beginning to see some schools that are saying, you know what? Phone down.
I blame strip joints.
While you're here, phone down. You're not going to be having it.
I blame strip joints.
It's hell yeah. And strippers. My favorite stripper was Glossy Coat. I'd like to go to you guys right now. And does this story, is this of import? And then tell you a brief story about my dad. Is this important in any way, or is this simply nice to know? We kind of suspected all along news.
I mean, I've known about it for a while, so I wasn't surprised, but I think it's kind of important because I think we're just now starting to come to terms with the amount of Nazism we've imported since World War II.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, our whole original space system was Nazis. I mean, that's how we got to space. But is it important? I'll tell you, I think it exposes the Catholic Church a lot more to the people, and they realized that the Catholic Church was involved very much in helping Nazis escape Germany down through Italy and other countries. They're hiding them in churches.
It's always been
so.
Well, the Catholic Church has always been shady as fuck. The whole reason there was a Reformation movement in the first place is because when the Catholic Church was pretty much the only option, rich people were paying to get into heaven. You basically slipped a little bit to the vicar, and you were insured a spot in heaven. And that's what started spurring the Reformation movement and everything else that came after it, because everybody's like, this is exactly not what the book says. And that's the problem with it, though, and that's another reason why they always used to do their masses in Latin, because then the preachers could tell you what the book said, because commoners didn't. Preachers, priests, same damn thing. And actually, as a matter of fact, a lot of them call themselves pastors now, which freaks me out, because I'm like, Catholic priests have never been pastors. Why are
you also have mothers that are fathers now in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is just trying to do whatever they can to stick to being relevant. Where it's not. Look, I grew up Irish Catholic. I grew up Catholic. But the Catholic,
you've misspoken, sir. You've gotten older. You've never grown up.
Fair enough.
That demands.
That's fair. That's fair. The Catholic Church has always. The Catholic Church has always been a walking hypocrisy. And, outside of John Paul, the only pope who's worth his weight, all of them for the last 50 years, 100 years have been garbage, because they got away from what they were supposed to be doing, right? It was all about making money. It was all about making the Vatican prettier. It was all about building the walls that they don't want anyone else to have. They forget that the previous pope was Nazi. The peace.
That was pretty good.
Thanks, Jersey
awesome.
Joe.
That was awesome. That was
breaking
really
out the debt,
good.
bro. That was pretty good.
And I know there's Catholics that get mad at me when I dump all over the Catholic Church, but let's face it, when I was growing up, one of the biggest scandals with the church was the pedophile priests in the Boston area. It happened in other areas too, but in Boston, it was very, very, very prolific. The Catholic Church's response was not to say, hey, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and they have to pay the piper, so to speak. No, we're going to move them out of country so they can't be prosecuted. We're going to lie, we're going to deny, and we're going to cover up. And because the Catholic Church was so deep into city governments went along with it, and they knew what was happening. So I have zero issue with the Catholic Church being exposed on this level. The Catholic Church was hiding Nazis after World War II and helped them escape, and even had them set up in Argentina. It was not by accident. It was not because it was and it wasn't just like one or two guys who were like, yeah, I was a Nazi, but really I just swept the floors inside, a Berlin office building. No, these were some high-ranking, well-known Nazis who were monsters that they helped get away.
I'll tell you a very brief story, and then I'd like to, what do I got? 7 minutes before the bottom of the break. You know what? Fuck it. For the breaks and stuff, there's just too much stuff to talk about. I want to eventually get to this, to NATO. But in the meantime, I want to tell my very brief story. You had spoken about the Nazis that came to the United States of America that were imported. Those were known as the paper clips. Werner von Braun was one of them. And a whole bunch of physicists, particle physicists, actual rocket scientists, not brain surgeons, rocket surgeons, so to speak, came over. And my father had a photograph which he put on a desk under a mat that was exposed to the light, and I should have pulled it up before it completely was blown away. It had very little information in it because it was just bleached, sadly. I don't know when, and I never asked my father about this, and I should have. There's a picture of my dad. This goes to a whole bunch of stuff. This is worth an hour show just by itself. But there's a picture of my father at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base standing on a little bit of grass with a concrete building in the background. Now, my dad worked for the Air Force. And in the process of working for the Air Force, he almost always wore a uniform. This photograph is with a guy standing to his right. Dad is in a suit. This guy is in a suit. There was an inscription at the bottom of the photograph, and it says, "Me with von Ohein." For a long time, I had no idea, nor did I have the sense to ask von Ohein, why is my dad standing in a suit with another guy that looks a little bit older than him named von Ohein? Why take that picture, and who gives a shit? Well, von Ohein happens to be Hans von Ohein. Hans von Ohein came over from Germany as part of the paper clips. Hans von Ohein is the inventor of the jet engine. It was Hans von Ohein that happened to help create the Messerschmitt Me-262, which was the first two-engine jet-powered fighter ever on the planet. Why is my father standing on the grass with a building? And he writes at Wright-Patterson, WPAFB, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Why is my dad standing in a business suit along with another guy standing with a business suit? And it's inscribed, "Me with von Ohein." What did my dad have to do with von Ohein? I will never know that answer. Just a weird thingy. Let me go to this right now. We can have about a 4-minute discussion, and then I'm not going to take a break, and we continue if we want, because it's my damn show. NATO nations World War III preparation as nuclear war protection ready due to Putin threat. The Scandinavian country has 64,000 underground shelters. This is Sweden, that can protect 7 million people, almost 3/4 of Sweden's 10.5 million population. Why are they doing this? And could this have been avoided?
Yeah, it could have been avoided. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if the EU did what Trump told them to do, including Britain, even though I everyone says, "Oh, Brexit, Britain's not part of the EU." They're still living by the same rules and doing the same things. They haven't changed much. If they did what Trump told them to do the first time he was in office,
yeah,
and they actually put a bigger percentage of their GDP into defense, this wouldn't have had to happen. This is self-imposed. But look, I said on my show the other night, I think it's great. Go for it, boys. You guys form your own EU army. Put all your money into it. Start your defense up. Do everything you have to do to defend yourself. I don't care if you want to be a giant single army. Go for it. But you should have done this 50 years ago. You should have put your money where your mouth is a long time ago, because they were all tough when they knew America was going to pay for everything. And now that they're not so sure, all of a sudden they want to get tough. They were spending all that GDP money on themselves. That's where their socialized healthcare came from. Put the GDP in the military defense if it's that big of an issue. And I don't think Russia's that big of an issue. I really don't. Other than his nukes.
I would agree.
Other than his nukes, he's got nothing. He can't bowl over Ukraine. He needs North Korean fodder. He's getting all of his drones from Iran. We have been shown that Russia is a paper tiger minus nukes. And I honestly believe China is as well.
Boy, did you open another door. Any thoughts on this?
Shoving you right through it again, so get ready.
I tripped him through it this time.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think he's right on both fronts. I think we have been shown, because remember when all this kicked off, what is it now going on? What are we now? 3, 4, 4 years ago, I think was when all this kicked off. It was like forever ago. But yeah, everybody's like, oh, this Ukraine thing's going to be over in like 3 days. And the thing that still drives me crazy, and I know I harp on this a lot, but when you keep telling me that the orange man is the Russian puppet, but Joe Biden looks at a camera and says, well, how we respond will definitely depend on the size of the incursion. That still just goes all through me to this day. But I mean, look, Russia is a mess. And I would be willing to bet that one of the reasons he's saber rattling so much about his nukes, think about how old those nuclear weapons probably are. And you know they haven't had the money to do the upkeep properly one way or the other. So I would almost guarantee you that if anybody ever pressed that button, it'd probably look like that red Yugo did in the last video.
Oh, well, and I'll tell you right now, the hypersonic missiles that they're talking about, numerous experts come out and said, hey, they're not hypersonic. They're not true hypersonic missiles, and they wouldn't be able to be hypersonic to cross any sort of ocean. So the technology, look, we've seen with Russia, we see with, what was it, their Armada tank that was supposed to change warfare, tank warfare. And then it was in the Ukraine, they found out that if they drop a hand grenade into the turret, they can get it to spin until the top comes off. That's not a joke. As it goes forward at 100 miles an hour, it unscrews itself. There's video of it. They hit it with a munition from a drone. The top starts spinning. Top starts spinning. It goes full power in one direction, and you see it going off in the distance with the top just spinning.
Well,
that was the Armada tank. That's Russia lies about all of their abilities all the time.
Everybody believes them. But China does the same thing. China is in even worse shape than Russia because their economy is in shambles.
Terrible.
Their population has been decimated by COVID. We still don't even know the full extent of how badly China was actually hit by COVID. Because you want to know why we're having so many supply chain issues? Because we get 90% of our shit from China, and they don't have enough people to work the fucking factories anymore.
Hey, Ricky, do you know how you know China's economy is bad? When they start showing how strong their military is.
Right.
That's exactly it. Once they start releasing, we're getting an aircraft carrier now. We have this new super 6th generation stealth fighter, but like all of that stuff that they start releasing is because they're weak and they have to cover for it. Their economy is garbage.
And then you're watching some of the footage from this supposed 6th gen fighter and it defies the fucking laws of physics. And I'm like, that's not even that can't do that.
Well, I've seen a couple videos of it and it does look pretty, but remember, the Nazis flew a flying wing in World War II. Just because you're flat doesn't mean you're stealth.
This is true. Oh,
yeah. And the what was it? War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds was the first movie in which the first iteration of the Northrop flying wing. That was the jet version, but the very first version was prop. That was the first movie where anyone saw a flying wing. Wow, that's pretty darn amazing. Oh, look above, right over here. I don't think you guys can see it, but I can. Right there.
You went right through the brig.
100. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it.
He already told you he wasn't taking a break. He looked right at the boss and said, fuck you. We don't do breaks around here.
That's right. 100. We have broken 100 people watching live right now. Thanks to everybody for doing that. Then there was this. I think, and like I say, 53 folks, 53. 5.
There's 100 of you watching right now. Put this man out of his misery and come click the subscribe button on
YouTube. That's right. We are this close.
I'll tell you, if we hit 500 while we're on the air, I'll swallow another bug.
Hey, who wouldn't want that? And who wouldn't want this? I'd like your input on this. Are we finally starting to see a reversal?
Oh, yeah, we are. But before we go into this, I would like to point out, I'm going to pull a Democrat trick for a moment. Okay. Sean Lewis just admitted on the air that he likes to swallow.
But only for 500 followers.
Oh, that's right.
It comes at a cost.
Yeah.
It comes at a cost.
Everything comes at a cost.
For a second there, I almost thought he said it comes with a cock, but I would be wrong.
Nothing's free. Nothing's for free.
Be wrong.
Hey, $20 is $20.
That's true. And that's not
25 for inflation.
Oh, now SHR Media is saying, or StreamYard is saying, we're having trouble streaming to your SHR Media live stream. I don't even know which one this is. So, okay.
Well, YouTube's going just fine because I'm in the studio version of YouTube monitoring everything, and you're going just fine.
I took that off, and we're just fine, and I don't care. And I think this is wonderful. 112 people watching live right now. It's ever expanding like my girth, like my gravitational pull, as someone here once said. Bombastic unrestrained. This, why did it take that one solitary courageous woman from USA Fencing to actually take a stand and kneel and said, I'm not having this shit anymore. And USA Fencing disqualified her when she had to compete against a man. Why aren't all women doing this, particularly with regard to feminists? And I will say this. It's because they're cowards. They are cowards. I'm talking about you. Every woman, every leftist woman, every Demorat, and you're mostly white, you are cowards. You are abject cowards. And for the men, if you're not supporting your woman, if you're not supporting women, you are cowards. We expect it of leftists because there's so much brain damage and mental defectiveness going on for some kind of a bizarre little fetish. This young lady, Stephanie Turner, took a knee, and she should be the index point from which we shoot down all this stupid bullshit with tranny males competing against women.
She should be on a Wheaties box by next week.
Oh my God.
Look, she is the latest, but she's not the first. You've had teams that have refused to play against other teams that have had males involved. I want to say it was Idaho, a volleyball team last year that refused to play San Jose State because they had a male on the team. There was a basketball team in Massachusetts that refused the same, a girls' high school basketball team. You've had some people stand up. It's getting attention now because I think the tide's starting to change. I think Rick mentioned that earlier, is that it's getting attention now. And why is it getting attention now? Well, I think there's
turbulence.
I think more people are starting to be reasonable and realistic, but I also think there's more and more injuries with male athletes competing against female athletes that are being exposed. I think it was the girl, I want to say it was King Philip High School down in Massachusetts, where a girl's face was broken in a sports game by a male who was on a female's team. She had a broken orbital bone. I think she had a broken nose, et cetera, for a contact sport.
Wasn't she at Trump's speech?
Yes. You're seeing it more and more. And Riley Gaines, I'll give Riley Gaines a lot of credit. She has drawn the attention to this.
Yep.
And she gets a lot of credit for that. But she's not also the only one. I can't remember the name, but there was the famous female tennis player who's a huge liberal who came out against it and said males should not be competing against females and that they're taking away female sports by doing that. And look, you're having girls. What was it? I want to say it was somewhere in Maryland this last weekend or the weekend before, where you had a male set the state record in females cross country. I forget what it was, some running thing, where he set the record and everyone was pissed. And he didn't just win by a little bit. He won by almost a whole lap. So I just think more people are starting to come back to reality. Like I said, 20%, the woke mob is dying. That's why only 20% of people support Democrats. That's the 20% that's left. I think most people are over it. They're tired of it. They're sick and tired of it. And it's not going to be, it's not long for this world. I think eventually it'll just fall by. It was a trend too. That's the other thing. There was a guy who wrote that he was talking to his friend who was a bar owner in England. And as a joke, he was having a hard time getting customers. And as a joke, he said, "Oh, you should hire a transvestite or a transsexual bartender." Ha ha ha. And the bar owner said, "Which one do I hire? The confused autistic kid or the 40-year-old pervert dressed like a woman?" And that's really what it bears down to. When you start looking at the groups, that's the vast majority of them. You have these 40-something-year-old male perverts, and then you have kids who probably have some sort of mental health issue that they're supposed to be dealing with, and they're not. They would have been prior, but they're not anymore.
Well, so part of it is, though, I think enough people are starting to figure out that none of the Democrats actually believe a damn thing that they've been saying for the last 20, 30 years. Look at DOGE as a prime example. The same people that have been trying to convince you that five-year-old kids can pick their gender, and 16-year-old kids should be able to vote. We're pissed off because Elon Musk brought in a bunch of 20-year-old keyboard nerds, and like, oh my God, you've got 20-year-olds going. Dude, I know 20-year-olds that were driving ships.
Yeah.
Like billion-dollar ships, like master helmsman at 20 years old. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? But it goes like this, like Tesla. They're lighting Teslas on fire. I guarantee you at least, I'll even go as far as 85% up until recently of the people that are driving Teslas most likely were on their side of the argument. And they're lighting them on fire, and they're destroying them, and slashing their tires, and they're keying them, and they're writing Nazi propaganda shit all over them. And at the same time, they're proving that everything they've ever yelled at us about climate change to them is a lie, or they wouldn't be lighting cars on fire.
Well, yes, and when you do that, there are so many toxic materials that are leaked into the atmosphere and on the ground when you burn lithium-ion batteries, you idiot fucksticks.
Remember when the Green Beret blew up the Tesla truck in front of Trump Tower, and every single news outlet mentioned, the toxic fumes coming from that thing, yada yada yada, and that's as dangerous. And this, it is dangerous, but now it doesn't matter. But the other thing, where to prove your point, BZ, about how everyone knows leftists are lying assholes, you just had Gavin Newsom, who for years supported the trans movement, just come out and say, I don't think women should be in men's sports, right? Because he needs to politically, so he said it. And that shows you everything Democrats are. They'll say whatever there is in the moment to make themselves look good. Look at Kamala Harris's entire fucking campaign.
She was a chameleon,
pandering to everything and anything for popularity. That's all it is.
They'll be whatever you want them to be at the time that you want them to be that.
They are political. They're political whores.
Democrats or my ex-wife? Wait.
No, they're political whores. I'll be whoever you want me to be for the night. Just donate.
Yeah, exactly.
For the next 8 hours.
Here's we're going to change gears slightly because we are.
I love this clip.
This was great. This was great. Did you play this today, Rick?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I'd watched your show, but I actually found this when I was watching TV. This is on Piers Morgan. Now, this is a chick that I've never heard of before. She's in the middle.
She calls herself a MAGA leftist.
Yeah. Now. But before, so I did a little research, a little Oppo research on her. And her name in the middle there is Batya Ungar Sargon. Now say that fast 3 times. She's of Jewish descent. She went to the University of Chicago, University of California, Berkeley, and was a pretty good leftist until things got kind of silly, stupid, and fattening. By the way, over here, this is Carrie Lake right next to her. And this is the guy we all know and love, Sink. And my favorite and Sean's favorite Sink thing is one in 2016, November, when Sink was saying, oh my God, it's all falling apart. The election, 45 election was all falling apart. That was...
Cenk's another one lately who has tried to right his ship in a lot of ways. He still is an ultra leftist. His female co-host there has gone off the rails compared to him. She's lashing out against the left on a regular, but Cenk's made a couple of comments even about Trump that are positive, which I thought was kind of funny. But go ahead.
And the wonderful thing about all of that is the fact that the core 20% are still insistent upon pushing harder left. Piers, take it away.
The market. Stock market is heavily down. You've got people suffering directly from.
They're talking about tariffs.
The consequences of that. A lot of retired people will be very anxious about what's happening.
It's going to be.
Well, you say that, but well, it may be. But
this is the first time we've ever done this. This is the first.
Yeah. So what?
Okay, look at her face. This is brewing. Watch her face.
Why do you think it's going to be short-lived?
It's the first time this has been done. It's good because it's the first time it's going to be done. There's jitters on Wall Street because we've never seen a bold move like this where the American economy, the American worker, American national security has been put first. And the president pointed many times to the Oval Office saying it was my predecessors sitting in that office that left us in the position we're in. We don't have a choice. Just remember, the debt that this country is facing right now, $37 trillion in debt. We saw the inflation spike up under Joe Biden. President Trump is bringing inflation down. Of course, there's going to be jitters when people try to figure out how this is going to affect them. I believe it will be at short term, and we'll see things level out. Not only level out, but it'll take the burden off of the worker. We'll be able to keep more money in our pockets when the Trump tax cuts come and help relieve some of that pressure on the American worker. Our backs are breaking. And over the last 60 days or so, the American people have watched in horror as we've uncovered the way they're wasting money right here in Washington, D.C., where I'm sitting. I'm overseeing an agency right now where the most egregious, unbelievable waste of American taxpayer dollars is happening. And the American people have had it. Thank God for President Trump coming in and saying, we're going to just ask for fairness in trade. I mean, you guys are acting like he's denying the ability for another country to come in and sell their products here. He's just saying, let's make it fair. You charge us 50%, we'll charge you 50%. You charge us 0, we'll charge you 0. And better yet, bring your manufacturing, bring your company into America. You'll pay 0 in taxes. You'll save on the freight charges, and you will have access to the greatest consumer the world has ever known, the American consumer. Nobody wants to give up on the American consumer.
Breaking. 150 people watching live. Thank you, one and all.
Wow, nice.
Okay, back here. Look, I can see arguments on all sides of this.
Take it away.
But the concern I would have if I was Donald Trump is that the turbulence at the moment is pretty extreme. And you've already got a pretty hesitant economy fueled by a long-standing cost of living crisis. People are already feeling the pinch, millions of people, tens of millions. And this is coming at the worst possible time for them, this kind of turbulence. This has to work, and it has to work quickly, or it could turn out to be a very dangerous and reckless roll of the dice.
Really?
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year, and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you.
Thank you.
I am waging war. I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class. And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected million American working class over them. We have already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at 0. Fentanyl,
nine reported
lows for the last 10 years. We have.
Say that, Rick.
They had 9 crossings reported in last week's report. 9.
How does that happen? It happens because you give a shit about people. 162 people watching live. Thanks to everyone.
We've already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this country since January 21st. So they have already worked. Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is here.
Even Pierce is starting to feel a little
Knocked it out of the
Home run.
ballpark.
That was a home
run.
dude.
Yeah,
Holy
without a doubt.
crap.
She didn't even need the new Yankee bat for that one. She just clubbed it right.
Yeah,
out of the
no
park.
torpedo bat there. She just
No.
went. She just old schooled it. You know, it's one of the things that you watch Cenk Uygur. First of all, the blonde woman all the way off to the left, right, whatever, who said nothing the entire time.
Right.
I'm guessing she was a leftist because she got more pale as time went on. But when you watch Cenk Uygur, he does the prototypical Democrat thing when they don't have a response.
Yeah, then
They're just going to sit there and just chuckle and shake their head and then come up with some. And I don't know what he said in response, but I guarantee you it was flip, sarcastic, and short.
And the whole time I'm thinking, why hasn't Bert done anything about his eyebrows? Because every time I see him,
No, I bet you Cenk Uygur said something to the effect of, well, thank God you're not running the country, ha ha ha, or something like that. He had no intelligent long-term statement there because there isn't one. Look, everything she said is true. Everything she said is factual. And as we said this show before, and I said on my show a couple weeks ago, it's going to take time. Everything's going to take time. But when was the last time we had $3.2 trillion or $1.2 trillion invested in America from outside countries? When was the last time?
$6 trillion now in people that say they're going to donate. I mean, I treat those things like the Jerry Lewis telethon. You don't count until the money's in.
Right.
But there's $6 trillion on the table.
But the reality is, when was the last time anyone's even said it? Because and I'm sure they know, especially Japan and a couple other places, Thailand or Taiwan, with the chips. They had the conversation. They're smart. They know money, and they went, nope, this is eventually going to benefit America, and I want to invest now to get the full return on what we can get out of this.
Well,
and
it's not that. Have you seen what the car companies are doing today? Ford has announced employee pricing until June, which is going to do a lot to stop the temporary, because a lot of the car companies aren't even really going to feel the tariffs right away. But they're doing everything they can to make the buyers understand that they're not going to try to pass these costs on to them. GM's doing the same thing. Both of them are pledging to continue manufacturing more cars and more parts in the country. I think I still have it pulled up. No, I don't, because I moved on to another story. But all of the major car companies, whether they're manufacturing things here or not, are starting to move things here to try to get past these tariffs. And one of the things, and I have been trying to say this even with some of my own crew that are starting to lose faith here, and it's happening. It really is we need to remember that all of these other major economies, for the most part, outside of possibly India, are paper tigers. We are still the largest, strongest economy on the planet. And I will admit our economy is primarily a house of cards right now. That's what Donald Trump is trying to fix. But it is still one of the sturdiest house of cards on the planet right now. And what surprises me, and I've heard almost nobody talking about this, Walmart, because as soon as even before the tariffs started shooting up, Walmart basically went to China and said, all of the shit that you're about to try to hit us with, we ain't paying for that. You are. Or we're going to find somebody else to get our stuff from. That is how every American-based company should be coming at these people, and it's how it should have been the entire time. And I spent an hour and 45 minutes talking about this on my show today, because every time I turn around, there was another story about it. And the simple fact of the matter is, you can be mad at whoever you want to be mad at with this stuff, but if you're mad at Donald Trump because of the tariffs, you're mad at the wrong people, because we have been being bent over the table for 40 years.
Decades.
Yes. Absolutely. Then there was this. Okay. Today is on the left coast and almost for you in Central. It's still April 3rd. April 2nd, technically, yesterday is when this was introduced. Well, wait, let's go down in this and look and hear all the tariffs and all that. Israel. On Tuesday, Israel announced the cancellation of all remaining tariffs on imports from the U.S. Vietnam has outlined plans to reduce tariffs on several U.S. products, including LNG, automobiles, and ethanol. India is considering cutting tariffs. And again, as you said, Rick, I'll believe it when I see it, but it's going the proper direction on over half of U.S. imports valued at $23 billion to protect its $66 billion in exports from impending U.S. reciprocal tariffs. Swiss Economic Affairs Minister Guy, whatever the hell, said Switzerland has eliminated industrial tariffs, allowing almost 99% of U.S. goods to enter the country duty-free. So,
can I bring up something really quick for people that don't understand tariffs?
Is working.
For people that don't understand tariffs, if you've ever been somewhere out of country and you see a duty-free shop and it says buy it here while it's still duty-free, yada, 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 essentially it's saying buy it here because there are going to be tariffs on it on the other side and you'll pay more.
No, that's absolutely correct.
That's what a duty-free shop is. So if you've ever been on a cruise ship, Mexico, out of the country, whatever, it's because of tariffs make it more expensive when you get into another country. That's how all this works. And like Rick said, just about every country in the world that we buy goods from, have tariffs on it that we pay and we don't even know we're paying it.
I queued up this video. This is from Trump. Let's listen to what he says. It's about a minute.
I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in my term, hundreds of billions. They never paid 10 cents to any other president, and yet they paid hundreds of billions, so much so that Biden couldn't do anything. They wanted to try and terminate it because he had a very special relationship with China.
Stop. 176 people watching live right now.
You know what the relationship was? He had a special relationship. But the numbers were so big. The numbers were so big that they couldn't do it. So they did ease it up. They did things that they shouldn't have done. They made it a lot more comfortable for them, but they couldn't do it because the numbers were hundreds of billions of dollars, and I did that. And we were on our way to doing something like incredible. And then we had a very bad election happen, a very bad election. A lot of bad things happened. So
imagine that.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
The Biden laptop got squashed, and here we are.
But again, here are some of the big pluses that are occurring. I've never seen this occur under any other president.
Johnson & Johnson, great company, $55 billion. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Meta is investing $500 billion. Wow. The Mac is investing $20 billion. CMA, CGM, $20 billion. And then
Can you pause this for a second?
Sure.
Make it big, like you were. I want to point something out.
Giggity.
You see the guys in the 1, 2, 3, 4th row with the reflective vests on?
Yes.
I think it's great that during his time as a trash man, he didn't forget it and he brought his former coworkers with him.
I think those are
that is cool. That is way cool. Go, Don.
Stellantis, General Motors, GE Aerospace, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai are all putting in billions and billions of dollars, and they're committed 100%. So, and we've never had, and this is after 2.5 months. This is after just a short, this all took place as soon as we came out with what everybody wanted to do. You know, watch Johnson.
Okay, weren't eggs the end of the world? Wasn't gas the end of the world?
Yes.
Because we're paying such terrible money for eggs. We're paying such terrible money for gas.
Except KTLE just came out and said that, oh, by the way, the gas price for California are policy-based and they have nothing to do with supply and demand.
That's true. And as I pointed out any number of times before, I'm in Idaho, North Idaho. North Idaho has that many refineries. Oh, no, that's a lie. Idaho doesn't have any fucking refineries. And the reason that and California, we spell it with a K, has 17 refineries. And yet, California gas, though it's right at their hands, at their fingertips, California gas is some of the most expensive gas except for Save perhaps New York, and I'm not even sure about that. By the way, 188 people.
Thank you very much.
Watching this show live right
it's
now.
funny to watch all of these companies suddenly invest billions of dollars back into America when they pushed it out of America because of cheap labor, and they hid behind the tariffs and upcharged a ton on their vehicles. Look at, I bought my 2015 Dodge Ram. It was the first year they did they called it the California package. The first year was the blackout, everything's blacked out, yada, yada, yada. Had the Hemi, crew cab, blah, blah. It was $30,000.
That ain't
5
shit
years
now.
ago. 5 years ago, they were offering me Ram when I brought it in to get serviced, was offering me $25,000 to buy it back at the height of COVID. They upcharge on those vehicles insanely now, and they're showing their ass because all that billions of dollars they said they didn't have, they suddenly have to start building infrastructure here and build it. This goes back to these cars. I know we're running over. I apologize. These car manufacturers, especially the American ones, we all know why they had to push their vehicles out of the country. It's because of the unions. The unions drove up the cost of labor so much on those vehicles that they had no choice but to make it cheaper elsewhere. And now it'll be interesting to see how the unions react with these companies coming back.
No, that's very true. When you're dealing with leftists in social media, one of the things that I was dealing with today was this aspect. Oh, well, Russia was left off of tariffs. Why was Russia left off of tariffs? Well, let's go down here. And it wasn't just Russia. Russia's absence from the exhaustive list, as you can see right here, there's a list. I put that up earlier in the show, which was unveiled Wednesday, was down to previously imposed sanctions already preventing any meaningful trade with Moscow, a White House official confirmed to the Post. And Cuba, Belarus, and North Korea were also lumped into the same basket, so to speak, is because we essentially don't do any damn trading with those people as well.
Right.
I mean,
So, yeah, that's not what they wanted to hear, though.
the only thing I think we trade with Russia is freaking fertilizer.
Fertilizer, yes, that's correct.
I just want to bring up, Pierogi said in the chat, unions, oh my God, here we go. How many of these new car factories are going to be so automated that there are going to be very few humans employed?
Well, so this is something else that I think we need to be focusing on, because I think it's great that we're starting to bring jobs back into the country again. But one of the things that I have a problem with is we're bringing a lot of 20th century jobs back into the country in the middle of the 21st century now.
Yeah.
So
Like
this is bad. We've got to start figuring out how to be innovators again. And we're not anymore. But the only way that we can start being innovators again is if we reestablish our own internal supply chains first, which is what they're working on doing right now. And Jeremy just mentioned that people are already starting to break ground on some of these factories. I don't think anybody's factoring in all the construction jobs that all this stuff is going to bring into the country.
And the amount of steel and all the other resources that will have to be put into it, the designers, everything.
Not to mention with all these tariffs. I mean, if companies like Walmart are standing up to China and saying we're not passing those costs on to our consumers and we're not paying it either, you're going to pay every penny of whatever the hell it is that you're trying to stack on this stuff, or we're not going to buy your stuff. This is what I'm saying. It's like all of a sudden we went from basically being the world's bitch to remembering that we're fucking Mike Tyson.
We are, and we whatever occurred to us was self-inflicted. We didn't have to do that.
Yes.
But we decided we were going to go ahead and do it to ourselves anyway. Hashtag just because. By the way, 192 people listening live to us right now. Thank you, one and all. We all greatly appreciate it. The other thing that I think is, yes, we're talking about heavy duty. We're talking about manufacturing, steel, fabrication, all of that. Heavy manufacturers. Ships. China has not built a container ship in over 6 months because people aren't going to China anymore for those ships. That's one in a series of indicators in terms of economics. But I would suggest this, because we know it's coming. It's going to be pushed. It is being pushed right now. And that is, we need to make sure that we go back to manufacturing our own PPE, our own antibiotics, our own medications, our own medical equipment, so that in times that are tough, we don't have to rely on China anymore. But we're talking about tariffs. China. I found this, and I think this was great. Let me make sure that I've got this turned on. Yes, I do. There's the sound. Here's somebody we all know and love.
Tariffs. I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? In terms of jobs, this is
that's Pelosi when she still had teeth.
Of all. The China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. The fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser.
And yet, it doesn't feel that way now.
Well, and this isn't the first time that we've talked about the fact that we have to bring this home. You know, that was under Clinton, wasn't it? Where Clinton was a big thing about,
1996.
Yeah, and Schumer's on the record saying the same kind of things. Biden has said similar things in the past, but I do have to. Maybe it's just because she looks so much like Mumra now, but Gam Gam was looking kind of hot back then.
That was before all the pills. That was before all the pills.
Well, and let's not discount this. Also, I found this because it's like I predicate the show upon this. I'm an ancient, obese, fat guy. I'm a techno-Luddite. And I can still find the shit that the American media maggots purposely neglect. I don't have to write this stuff. I don't have to say that, I created it out of whole cloth. No, I'm not smart enough to do that. All I need to do is pull in shit that's already out there. And that would be this. Remember all the people, at least the people in my social media sphere, have been saying, billions of dollars for Elon Musk. Oh, he's so bad. Why we give so much money to Elon Musk?
Essentially loaned you, Tesla, almost $500 million. How much of that do you still owe?
So we paid the whole
2014, by the way.
Loan back with interest and a prepayment penalty last year.
Did you have to do that? It wasn't due, was it?
No, it was not due for, I think, another 10 years or something.
Why did you pay it off early?
The taxpayers supported Tesla. We ought to repay them as soon as we can. Since we had the ability to do it and the stock markets were good, we thought, let's pay it back with interest. And
what a jerk.
And a thank you note, by the way, which I said, really appreciate it. Thank you.
What a jerk. He's evil. I told you he's evil.
What a fuckstick. Who in their right mind would take $500 million from the United States of America and pay it off early? You fucking communist.
Well, and never mind all the interest they could have written off on it. So, I'm just saying, it's more than just the 500 plus interest.
I mean, well, so here's the thing with that, right? So he pays it off. He loses the ability to, if he kept paying it on time, all the interest would have been a write-off. And he took a prepayment penalty just so he could put the money back in the right coffers.
Yeah, I told you he's a jerk.
Damn him for having morals and ethics. Who in their right brain or left brain pays off a loan early? Nobody.
Especially back to the feds. Look, we know that the feds were hanging out small business loans to 10-year-olds to the tune of $11 million. He could have probably never paid that back, and nobody ever would have came calling until now.
Yeah, I mean, well, once he changed sides, they would have given found him. So it's probably a good thing he paid all the shit off in advance because they'd be like, you owe us money and we're adding more interest now. Bit of breaking news in case you've missed it. The head of the NSA was just fired a little bit ago. So.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I missed that.
Interesting.
Okay. While you chat for a little bit. Okay, let me tell you this. We're going to have to go pretty soon. We're not going to do that much overtime. It's about 10 minutes after. So after I find this article for that amount of time, if you guys would tell us, everyone, where you can be found, who you are, etc., I will see if I can move my little phalanges quick like a bunny over here and find the article and show it.
Rick just shared it in private chat.
I already found it for you, brother.
Oh, did you? Okay. Private chat. There we go.
This is what happens when you have 3 people on that all know how to produce.
I know, it's great. So, Sean, can you tell us where your show is and how people can see you?
Sure. Every Monday and Wednesday night, SHR Media, mostly on YouTube is the best way to check me out on the SHR YouTube. I'm on at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, but I'm also on KLRN with our good friends over there, of course, who've been nothing but amazing to us. Twitch, X, Facebook, yada, 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 Rumble. I'm there if you would need me. You can find me on X at the number 2 Against Tyranny. And yeah, having a good time and enjoying it and having a blast. And thank you so much for having me on tonight, BZ.
Well, you're certainly very welcome. And you will next be on this coming Monday night, correct?
This coming Monday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on YouTube, SHR Media, and all the other outlets.
Unless they keep him chained to his desk again.
Yeah, unless they keep me chained to my desk. That was uncalled for. Tonight was almost the same thing. I was able to sneak out, though.
Bastards. Rick Robinson, where can people find you? 194 watching live. We're almost at 200 night right now. OMG.
You can find me on X at Bardovic73. You can find our network / station at KLRN Radio. You can find me tomorrow afternoon doing the Rick Robinson Show, noon to 3 Eastern Time. That is Tuesdays through Thursdays. Tomorrow night, you can find me hanging out with the lovely Aggie Rican doing He Said, She Said, which is kind of a pop culture / anything we feel like talking about kind of show, kicking off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, otherwise known as Aggie Time. Saturday night, I'll be hanging around with the Front Porch Forensics crew, pushing the buttons for them. That is our murder / what's that new anyway, I'm getting punchy, but yeah, it's our murder show. They're doing cults,
murder documentary. They're not committing murders, they're talking about them.
Well, no, we don't confirm nor deny.
Well, it's midnight 12 where you are right now, so I would certainly anticipate that, yeah, it's a long day. Because go ahead and tell me this right now. You're going to get how many hours sleep, and then when are you going to have to wake up, Rowdy Rick?
Well, it's 12:12 for me, and my alarm goes off at 5:45 my time. So
okay, so only 5 hours, no big deal. Thank you very much. Here's the article. Trump fires NSA chief. Now, historically, the NSA chiefs, the directors, have been military personnel, former uniformed military personnel, generals, admirals, things of that nature. And here we go. Yes, confirmed. The head of the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command has been fired. General Timothy Howe assumed the dual role not long ago, but he's gone, and his top deputy has been reassigned. Let me see if I can find his top deputy. I don't see the name right now. Oh, this is interesting.
I didn't know Klaus Schwab stepped down from WEF.
This is very interesting. President Donald Trump has just fired U.S. Cyber Command and NSA Director Timothy Howe, while Klaus Schwab is stepping down as chairman of the World Economic Forum.
Everybody always asked me, what can Schwab do for you? And my answer was always to be step down. And here we go.
Yeah, perfect.
I have a non-suitable for YouTube answer, so I'm going to shut up.
Yeah. Oh, no. No, go ahead, please.
What can Schwab do for me? He can die in a fucking fire. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Or as I want to say, and what happened to that that individual? Something terrible happened to him. Yeah, I said he died in an ambulance fire. Kind of the worst one. Anyway, that's me being very strange. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Rick, thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. And also, Sean, thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. And we're going to go. I'm going to go. Right there. 196 people watching live right now. I couldn't thank everyone more. Thanks for being in chat. Speaking of chat, let me sweep the chat room once more. As Second Sean says, please like the episode, subscribe to the network, and help us. 53, I've said it before, 3 people. If we could just get 53 more people to subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel, huzzahs would float down upon all of thee, and you would have a wonderful, pleasant slumber tonight. It would be so great. It would be so wonderful. And as Sackhead and Unleash Jeremy Hansen, I should have said hello to you. This was a fun show, and Sean says, thank you all. And thanks to me for being me and old and fat and grumpy, just as somebody else said they are. Take it away. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you so kindly for being here tonight. Thanks for listening to me, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, right here on Rumble, on the SHR Media YouTube network, on X and Twitch, and the grandiose KLRN, and just tons of other bulbous podcast networks where you can see us not live, but in podcast. And I will put this out on social media. And Rick Robinson says, thanks for hanging out, and thanks to everybody. And I say that to you. I greatly appreciate the time that the slight time that you have in your lives to be able to listen to me. As per normal, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Shure and Electro Voice microphones, Arrakis boards. They have my mixer, and also by Pratt & Whitney engines featuring thrust. You can trust, as in my lovely T-shirt right here. Tiaras are by my little Tony. Tony, come in here. You're little, and you're Tony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in a few minutes. To everybody, thank God that you are here. Take care.
Good night, Mama.
Be safe.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy. Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.